From the Impact Power Sports studio, the Eric Zane Show podcast has begun. Okay. So, like a mystery solving itself, when at about, the usual start time, 8-ish, I'm all set, ready to go here. And then nothing. I look and it says my internet is out. So I'm like, okay, well, that happens. But rarely is the problem solved as easily as this. Some of you may have seen that I grabbed my phone and went live on Twitch to say, hey, I'm running a little late. The internet's acting funky. And then the dog started barking. They heard something that caused them to start barking. They heard like something like dropped. And after I got done doing that little, hey, I'll be a little late thing, it dawned on me that the sound that they heard was in this room. Something dropped. Something was at not floor level and fell to floor level. And I was like, I think I know what it was. Not only is it the thing that made them bark. Hang on. Not only is it the thing that made them bark, but it's the thing that is keeping me from doing my podcast right now. There's this thing that plugs into the wall. What the? This every day now. I think I'd really need to invest in a new one of these. I know everybody yells at me about it. Come on! This little thing that plugs into the wall that takes the internet signal. And it actually plugs into the wall. And it must have, yesterday as Patreon was ending, it was over. Darla was doing something annoying and I had to chase her around the room. And she ran over by the side of this couch where this thing is in the wall. And I didn't think of anything at the time, but she must have really bumped into that fucker. And it was coming out of the wall. So much so that the internet wasn't working. And then while doing that little show telling you that I'm going to be late because of no internet, it actually fell out, landed on the ground, dogs barked at it. That gave me the clue. I went back, oh, shit, plugged it right in as soon as I got done with you, and boom, we are podcasting. My God. Some of the top broadcasters and podcasters in the world, I'm sure these are the same problems that they deal with. I'm sure Pat McAfee and Joe Rogan are, hey, did you guys solve the problem? Yeah, the dog ran by the thing in the wall and knocked it out. Oh, God. Donut Dan says technology is scary. Fire your engineer. Well, then I guess I have to fire me. Okay? Because it's just me. Just me. All right. But welcome. Excited to have you here. Excited to do this show once again for the 1,220-something time. The Eric Zane Show podcast from right here in the Impact Power Sports studio. Okay. EZ got called into action yesterday at the world-famous Bosco's Pub. All right. And typically, I just help out one day a week, but there's Doug and then Dougie. Doug is the boss. Dougie is number 2. And Dougie's sick. So they're like, hey, can you come in? I go, well, yeah, I'll come in. Hell yeah. That sounds great. I'll help out. I go in there. But Doug is, he is finicky like a cat. So there's this one particular thing that we make called loaded Bosco fries. They're really good. But you make the fries, and then they come out hot, and then you put the salt on them, and then you put them on this little baking pan, and then you put a ton of shredded cheese on it. And you don't really have a lot of wiggle room with that baking pan because the baking pan is not very wide. So a lot of the times you'll put the cheese on there and it'll fall off while you're putting it on. Same thing with the bacon. No big deal. I mean, a few scraps fall on the floor, and then that's what happens during a day's dinner service, a night's dinner service. And then what do? At the end of the night, you sweep the floor like I do every damn night. So I don't even notice it because you're in the heat of a dinner service. You got to get this food out. You can't be fucking around worrying about little scraps of cheese and bacon on the floor. So whatever. I don't even notice it because I'm so in the zone. I get this food out there, it goes flying out there, fucking record time, absolute fantastic. And then I hear muttering. And if you hear Cement Head Doug start muttering, that's, you know, if he's not muttering to you, if he's muttering to you, that means he's muttering about someone else. But if he's just like he does, you're like, uh-oh. And he's bitching because there's cheese on the ground and bacon on the ground. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And he's fucking having a temper tantrum. I was like, shut up. Kuiper says a good cook would keep a station clean the whole night. Well, that's true. That's true. And I do. However, I wasn't even aware it happened, honestly. But, oh, my God. What a hyper bastard. Then we're there, and apparently a table of 4 ladies. While they're there, they figure out that they know Doug. Now, these are women that are our age, 50s. And they sent a message, the women, to the server, who then relayed it to Doug and said, hey, your Kenowa Hills classmates want to know if you are going to pay for their meal. And I guess that's a way of breaking the ice to get him to come out and say hello or whatever. But he's like, huh? What? I go, yeah, Doug, go see him. Go see him. He's like, shut up. I go, seriously, go on. Shut up. He goes out there. He's having a conversation with them. He comes back. He goes, they want to see you too. I go, they do? Yeah, they recognize you from the hockey games. I'm like, oh, all right. I go out there and, I mean, right away. I mean, the hard eyes. You all know, I've described this so many times before. How many times does it happen where I just walk up and, you know, women these days are so, they're treated terribly by their husbands. All right? They're not given the right amount of attention. If you're married, and especially if you've been married for a long time, you can't let that slide. So within 1 second, I figure out that these 4 women aren't given any attention by their husbands whatsoever. Because I threw out some of the lightest hitting jokes or one-liners or a couple of easy charms, and they were so well received. They were like, oh my God. Oh, you're so funny. Oh. And I'm like, okay, all right. We're going to have to scrub these chairs. And the one there, the leader of the group, I'm talking with her, and she goes, well, we saw you, and of course, everybody knows you. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And Rebecca says, I bet they love your hair, too. Amy says, was your hair on point for these ladies? Well, of course. If I'm going to walk out out of the kitchen onto the floor, oh, my God, you better believe it, you know? So I'm there flirting with these women. I mean, it's a flirt fest. And I am holding my own. And key point is the leader of the group was the cutest. But you have to pay attention to the other 3, even if not as cute as the one. Because if you just focus on Cutie Patootie, the cutie pie, she's going to feel uncomfortable because EZ is not paying attention to them, and they're probably going to get butt hurt. So you got to give them a taste, you know. So a little eye contact while talking, and super expressions by EZ, and laughy, good time. And she goes, I saw you, and I was like, oh my God, it's Eric Zane. Except you're not wearing. She said this. You're not wearing your little suit, and in front of me right now, you're not all crazy because of the hockey games. I'm a nut. Cole writes, her fat friends need some attention too. It's a horrible thing to say. My God, what are you doing? They were lovely, all four of them. Went back, talked to Doug. I go, hey, did you ever make out with any of those chicks? And no. But before I left, I said to him, I go, so now what was Doug like in high? And I didn't even finish it. And she goes, he was naughty. He was so naughty, Eric Zane. And he was. I mean, first of all, Doug told me himself that because when he opened the restaurant, he had a lawyer helping him out with things. And he's the lawyer says, okay, well, I'm going to go get your liquor license. They look at your background. So what is your background like? And Doug hands him like a ream of paper and says, here, these are my felony convictions. And he's like, what the fuck are you putting me into? You can't possibly expect me to get you a liquor license with all this shit against you. Doug's been stabbed more than once. Doug's been shot. All right. The cops. Doug at one point beat the shit out of a cop. His stories are absolutely legendary about his run-ins with police. It's Doug, real wild side. And if you see him, you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. So yes, Doug is. I walked out there, I go, hey man, I asked him what you were like growing up, and they told me to tell you that they said you were naughty. Amy says, did Doug grow up in the city of Warren? Tension in the city of Warren.
Tension in the city of Warren. This is Easy
Rhyme
on 89.1 WPHS.
We're gonna tear it up.
We're gonna tear it up. The favorite songs
from your favorite artists.
We've got 2 hours.
8 till 10 p.m.
I'm going to want to hear those phone calls. 751 FM 89 is the number. Let's hear your suggestions. Let's start it off right away with Run DMC, Together Forever.
Hey, yo, 1, 2, 1, 2.
1, 2, 1, 2.
And I say. Corey says black as fuck completely. Oh, yeah. That is a black dude right there. Night ends, all good. Another successful, fun time there. And I might be back. The plan was to do a Big Fraud Thursday. Today. I even mentioned it. I said to Ben Glaze, Big Fraud Thursday, and he was, okay, yeah. And then I was talking with Doug, and Doug E. is ill. I go, I'll tell you what, I'm going to switch around my schedule, and I'm ready. If Doug E's still sick, you call me, and I'll charge my charms, and I will come back and help you on Thursday if you need me. He's like, well, you know. So I said to Ben Glaze, I go, buddy, I'm thinking about Saturday. A Big Fraud Saturday. And he said, it'll give me more time. to get these clips ready for Big Fraud. Yeah. Who are these Zanes? Yeah. Yeah. Oh. So Saturday would work better. All right, Saturday it is. Let's do a Big Fraud Saturday. We'll start probably around the same time, 12:15, with Who Are These Zanes? Wrap it up with the Ben and Eric Patreon podcast. Maybe Ashley will tell more tales about having sex with Joe. How about that? Ashley definitely willing to share. I guess when I was doing the Ben Glaze impression, Darla was interested. Ben Glaze. Blinky, blinky. Love it. Tyler writes, quote from Ben. Saturday is great. I'm too busy reporting on the weather for X's and bros. Chris D sent me a notice. It was another spectacular moment for Ben yesterday on X's and Bros. We will review that when we do the Ben and Eric Patreon podcast. Speaking of Ben asked me to work for him, as I told you, on that show, X's and Bros, coming up sometime in March. He says, I want to take a quick trip to Las Vegas with Brett, Lurch. It's going to be a Friday to Monday trip. Can you cover for me? Easy. And I'm like, come on, dude. Ask somebody else. I got shit going on. And then he says, well, it's going to be hard to train somebody. I'm like, how hard can it be to train somebody? You just have to turn up a thing and press a button. And then he says, well, I might just have to come back from my trip a day early. I was like, yeah, fly out to Vegas on late Friday, get back Sunday. What the fuck? I go, all right, don't do that. If you can't find anybody, I'll do it. Pain in the ass. You're a pain in my ass is what you are. Holy shit. So that would be that looks like it's probably going to happen. So I will be on the air on that show at 6 a.m. I don't expect you to be there when it signs on because that's too damn early. But I will get the audio of Anthony saying, "Oh, Bennett Glaziers, gentlemen, how are you?" I mean, what do I do then? Do I do like a normal person and have a conversation? Or do I do like Ben and go, oh, it's 32 degrees out, barometric pressure, 26 inches and rising, winds out of the south-southeast, south-southwest at 15 knots, waves 3 feet on Lake Michigan. Come on. Tyler says if you cover him, you will blow Anthony's mind with your sports knowledge when he goes to you for 30 seconds, then randomly stop talking to you. Stevie, actually, Linda says you should imitate Ben. Then the idea is being floated that I could actually get Ben clips and play them on the show. So Anthony would be like, hey, Ben, did you have a good day?
Oh, yeah.
I bet you're excited for the big game.
That's right.
So what's the weather? Are you happy with it, Ben?
Oh, yeah.
I heard it's a little cool in your neck of the woods.
That's right.
Do you want to discuss the weather?
Oh, yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
What are you waiting for?
That's right.
I want to hear your morning weather report.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Had starting to melt where the headlights go. Starting to melt where the headlights go.
Here's Ben breaking down fog with Anthony.
C. Bellino, gentlemen, good morning to both of you. How
morning.
are we on this Wednesday?
Doing all right. Had a okay trip in. It's nothing but fog. Down here.
Same here from last night.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Well, can you tell me how fog is made, Anthony?
Same here. It's that those high temperatures, man, the precipitation, everything else. Drastic change. What was the temp outside?
32. So,
Why is that important? I'm guessing, here we are in Michigan. I would guess the difference in temperature is maybe a degree or two throughout the entire state. Tyler says it's like his own dialect of English that requires lengthy pauses and stutters called Benglish. Do you speak Benglish? Holy shit.
everything's starting to melt. On the side roads, I can only see like 10 feet in front of me. Like just out past where the headlights go.
Wow. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. Last night on my commute home, it was getting intense.
Okay.
The fog was, but it was still 35, 38
These two. Holy shit.
degrees, whatever it was. So it was nice, man. It felt damn near tropical.
Right.
That much is for certain. So I was happy with it. Like, hey,
Yeah.
finally, like, can we be done with whatever that was in January, please? I'd be
Right.
a big fan of that.
You gotta understand. This show has potential to be heard by hundreds of thousands of people. Make fun of it all you want. It's on 20 radio stations throughout the whole state.
I knew that, in December we didn't have much of a winter and people were starting to question. In January, it was like, you didn't think you were going to get cold temperatures? Here's minus 18, real feel, whatever that means.
And now this is where he does a deep dive. It sounds like a bit. It sounds like a Seinfeld bit, but it's not. Hold on a minute. Darla, no. Knock it off. Hey! Hold on. Knock it off. Sounds like a Seinfeld bit.
So that's the one thing I'll always question. How can something be zero if it's 0 degrees outside? The weather people say it's 0 degrees, but it feels like minus 18. Wouldn't it then be minus 18?
Yeah.
No, it's simple. Wind speed reduces the surface temperature. That's the simplest thing on the planet.
That makes more sense.
Because what's the reality? Or it's just 0.
Right.
And it feels like 0. Like that's what 0 degrees
He's breaking down the wind chill factor.
feels like. This is
Yeah,
what
exactly.
the Arctic feels like.
And I think he's doing a bit, but it's not funny. There's no joke.
Because if you're going to tell me it's 0 degrees and then you're going to tell me, but it feels like, what are you just making stuff up over there? What do you mean it feels? How do you know what it feels like?
Courtesy laugh.
Some people wear shorts outside in the winter. I don't know how they feel.
What's the deal with short pants?
I don't know what they can feel.
What's the deal with shorts?
They might not be able to feel anything.
I said short pants. I used to always say short pants.
I, for one, am not one of those people that wear shorts outside in the winter. I don't.
If you can plot this out, this started with Ben talking about the fog, Anthony giving us how fog is made, and then it dips into wind chill, and now it's people who wear shorts.
I don't like that. I
When
don't
it's
like
cold.
to be cold. I'm not a fan at all. But hey, neither here nor there. Just kind of is is what it is. Maybe
So he says one platitude or cliche. Yeah, you know, I mean, people wear shorts. That's neither here nor there, and it is what it is. Yeah, shorts. What do you think about shorts? Oh, they're neither here nor there. Yeah, but it is what it is. You'd have to agree with that. Darla!
one day we'll get some clarity on what happens next for the weather people, and I can solve that problem for all of us too. Either it is or it isn't, but there's no middle here.
Yeah, it's neither here nor there. And it is what it is.
There's no terminology for what.
At this point, Ben keyed the mic off, and Ben's like, "Oh, this is where I just let him go. This is like the equivalent in AC/DC, like when they're on stage and Angus gets that solo and everybody's losing their mind. Anthony's just killing it now.
What it feels like. You know what it feels like today? It feels like
It feels like death warmed over based on what my ears feel like right now.
we'll step outside of the football conversation.
Oh, God damn. So difficult. So hard. Well, anyway, that may be what I will be doing. Holy cow. That was more fun breaking it down the second time because we broke that down on the Ben and Eric Patreon podcast. I didn't think I'd come up with new jokes, but it worked out. Amanda says this is definitely a bros conversation. Yeah, it could be an ex's conversation or a bros conversation. I didn't know bros sit around and discuss the wind chill. Oh, there's food on my lip. Wind chill factor. That was cream of wheat. Wind chill factor and other things. Oh, my God. Ladies and gentlemen, what is happening here? Incoming phone call. Hello, sir. Hello,
Big Fraud Zane, how are you doing on this wonderful Thursday morning?
Mr. President. I'm so surprised to hear from you. Thank you so much for calling. What's happening?
Well, I'm calling all of my contacts in the media. I'm trying to wage a war against the crooked Taylor Swift. I think it's terrible what they've done to America's football game. Terrible.
You're not one of these people that are like, you think that she's somehow ruining the game. That's a little silly.
She's totally ruining the game, and she's probably using this as a political. Listen, they're going to do this. They're going to take this as a political opportunity to endorse crooked Joe Biden and his band of thugs. They're going to do this, and the Swifties, you got to look out for the Swifties. But the good news is our MAGA supporters are probably bigger numbers than the Swifties. It's so terrible that people did not name me the person of the year. Instead, they named her. It's terrible, actually.
Well, okay, so now hold on a second. There's a couple of things we're working on here. Are you saying that because they've talked about how she and who she endorses, but of course she's going to endorse Joe Biden. You didn't really think she was going to endorse you, did you?
Well, of course, I thought maybe she would finally maybe wake up and, maybe see the light. I don't know, because it's so crooked what she did back in 2020 when she endorsed him, and we certainly don't want that again. That would be very bad if she endorsed such a crooked old man like that. I mean, he's completely incompetent. I mean, I don't even know. I don't know if he's even able to take a dump.
No, he's not. He's not at all. He's not at all. But I don't think it's crooked to just say that you're going to vote for someone. Is it?
Oh, it's terrible because these Swifties, they do what they listen. They're like mesmerized or something. They do what she says, and she should not be influencing political things with her statements and such forth. So we have to stop her. We're going to wage probably a holy war against Taylor Swift. It's the only way. We gotta band together, all patriots.
Okay.
And we have to destroy the Swifties. I mean, we've already got tens of thousands on their way to Texas right now, Big Fraud. And they're going to help the great Governor Abbott, and we're going to secure the border. That's step one, and then we're going to do it. We're going to do it. It's going to be great.
Okay, so you said a lot there. Your supporters are going to A, quote, destroy her, B, holy war, and C, secure the border. That's a lot, sir.
We totally have to secure the border. You know, it's terrible. It's terrible what Joe's done to the border. I left with the most secure border. We were building the greatest wall, and he completely defunded it, Big Fraud. Completely defunded
Right,
it. It was
right.
terrible. And now we've got these Mexican thugs and so forth, like Joe Martinez. I know you're very fond of him, but I don't know if he's legal.
No,
I don't know if he's legal.
He was born.
He came into this country.
No, he's an American citizen who's born here. I'm sorry, Mr. President, but that's a horrible thing to
He's
say.
certainly not America's sweetheart, and neither is Taylor Swift. We got to be honest about that. That's why we have to secure
Yeah.
the border, Big Fraud.
Why wouldn't it be easier just to not secure the border and let these people come into the U.S.? What's wrong with that?
Well, I guess if you're going to shoot them on sight, that would be the only
No,
alternative
no.
because these people are terrible. They're raping people.
No, they're not. Come on now. Maybe that there might be a couple of rapes, but there's like
Big
8.
Fraud, if you knew the numbers of these drugs that are entering our country, and they're taking innocent young people are taking these terrible drugs, and they're being sex trafficked, Big Fraud.
I don't know.
You wouldn't believe it.
All right. Well, I'll have to follow up on that. Look for the facts as to how many are being trafficked and the whole drug thing. I don't know. Every time
There is a caravan right now, Big Fraud, of our great patriots heading to the great state of Texas. They are going to help. I don't know if you knew this. Governor Abbott, he has installed razor wire on the border, and Joe Biden's thugs
Yes.
have come through and cut it.
Yes, I
They've
did
cut
see
it
that.
entirely.
I did see that. Well,
And
yeah.
our great patriots are on their way in a caravan right now, and they're going to fix the problem. I tell you that right now. They're calling themselves the Army of God.
Okay, well, I'll look that up and follow up on that story because I definitely want to hear from and hear about the Army of God. You know,
Oh, it's tremendous what they're doing.
so
Great patriots are heading to the state of Texas,
you're right.
and I totally commend them.
This is a holy war. Then you have created, because we all know how religious you are, and I mean you are.
I'm probably the evangelicals,
Right.
they love me. They know how much I love the great Bible, which is probably the best. I mean, let's be honest, the best book ever written.
Well, yeah, and you've probably read it cover to cover at least twice a year, every year, right? The Bible.
Oh yeah, and the evangelicals, they know it. They know how much I know the Bible. I know the Bible probably more than most people.
Right. Is there any truth to the rumor that you're putting some rough drafts to actually add some books to the Bible? Like you would have, you know how you might have Ecclesiastes, a gospel according to Luke, Mark, John, the whole deal, Matthew. It would be the Bible, the gospel according to Trump. Is there some truth to that?
Well, I can't substantiate that, but I certainly shouldn't. I should say that sounds like a fantastic idea. I think the Bible is always open to interpretation, and certainly things could be added. I mean, it's a very historic text, and I think it needs to be updated to modern times. I've said that several times. I think we could update that certainly.
Okay, so basically just take things out, omit it, and just like change words around to make it say something that maybe goes with what you're thinking.
Exactly, Big Fraud. You always understand it. The same thing that we've done to the Constitution. Things that don't make sense.
Change
like
it.
Term limits. Take that out of there.
Take that out of there. No term limits whatsoever, so that a person can be voted in and then they can stay there for 50 or 60 years.
Right. There should never be another election.
Okay.
There should never be another election. I don't know why we would have another election.
Right.
If America had their favorite president,
Yeah.
they shouldn't need to elect.
They shouldn't need to elect, and then you could just put giant posters up of that president while he's there for an entire lifetime, and then no one really gets a choice anymore. I mean, why bother having an election? It's a real pain in the ass. So whoever would be in office would be doing everyone a favor.
You got it, Big Fraud. It's like you've suddenly woken up and seen the light. I don't even have to argue.
Oh,
these
no,
facts with you. You're bringing them to me.
I'm not saying that I agree with them. I'm just saying that that's what you're suggesting.
Well, I mean, if you're saying it, you totally agree to it. We could take the audio clips and use them against you.
Yeah.
The thing is, these terrible crimes they're accusing me of, they won't even let me properly defend myself in these courtrooms. It's terrible. I wish you could be part of some of this, Big Fraud, because you would love it. I mean, it's so fraudulent.
I saw that E. Jean Carroll, that big lawsuit against you, and it seems like every time it's crazy because you lost $5 million in the actual sexual assault trial, but you lost $83 million because you said she's a liar.
She's a total liar. They wouldn't even let her bring the semen-soaked dress. We couldn't even bring that into to the court
The semen
to
soaked.
examine it. They wouldn't even let. I had eyewitnesses that were going to come in, and they were going to totally take a look at this whole thing. And the crooked judge said, no, we're not going to have any of these witnesses. It's terrible. I mean, I should be able to have a just trial, and it's so unjust.
I had not heard of the a quote unquote semen soaked dress.
That's what she alleges, and there was no semen, I can assure you.
Okay.
I think I would know. I would know a thing or two about that, and there
Right.
was no semen.
There was no semen on the dress. That would have meant, because this was years ago, so that would have meant she kept the dress soaked in semen and then easily presented the semen dress,
And that's what their whole thing is. And I mean, it's obvious. I mean, so many years have passed. Even if let's just say it was soaked with semen,
Right.
and I'm not saying that it was, would that even be viable now?
Well,
I don't know if you
there's
could do
that,
anything with that.
and just the terminology, soaked with semen. Like if I'm washing the car and I put a sponge in a bucket, that sponge is soaked and I can wring it out. But I don't think...
Right,
unless,
totally soaked.
I mean, I don't know. Does your semen... is there that much semen that you produce that... like if you were to ejaculate on a sponge, would I be able to soak the sponge out and the semen would be dripping off? Do you produce that much semen, sir?
Well, I mean, it's possible. You know what I love about you, Big Fraud? This reminds me of some of the best times I had on radio with Howard Stern. I used to be one of his best guests.
Yeah.
And we would talk about things like this all the time. But, you can't talk about that these days.
No,
I mean,
no.
They don't want the locker room talk. They don't want
No.
the locker room talk.
Well,
You can't talk about that.
I'm just amazed by your ability to produce semen. You must be a legend in producing semen, because if you soak something with your semen, that's a lot.
Well, I've soaked many things with semen. I got to tell you that. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Melania's had wonderful children. Look at my wonderful children with her. I tell you, they're totally mine. They're totally my children.
Right.
The thing is, Big Fraud. We've got to remember the point of this whole thing, and that is the crooked Taylor Swift
Okay.
and this terrible NFL football game that's coming up on the 11th. I want our great Patriots to destroy Taylor Swift and the army of Swifties. I think
Okay.
we've got to take back America.
Why don't you send Kid Rock or something? He seems to be like your big hitter in entertainment. And you could have...
Between him and Ted Nugent, I think, we've obviously got big influences on
Right.
our side. I mean, Ted Nugent is probably, he's our biggest influencer. I'm going to be so honest about
Okay.
that. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this Taylor Swift problem. I think it's terrible what she's done to our country, showing up to these football games, taking precious airtime. Terrible.
So basically, her just going to the game to support her boyfriend, that is a problem.
I mean, if it's a boyfriend, do we know that? I mean, let's
Well,
be
yeah,
honest.
we
We don't
know
know
it.
if
It's
this
a
whole thing was
fucking
paid for by
boyfriend.
Joe Biden.
Oh, for
We don't know.
Mr. President, I've had enough. It's been a
I've
fantastic
had enough of
conversation.
you too, but thank you so much for taking my phone call, Big Fraud.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're such a supporter of all this.
No, I'm not. I'm not. It's all nonsense. My God. What the fuck? Bob writes, why would anyone want to listen? He's talking about Taylor Swift. Refers to her as a rat-faced trailer park skank. Why would anyone want to listen to who that rat-faced trailer park skank endorsed? She's made a music career on her poor choices of men. That's nonsense. I mean, I don't like her music. I think it's pretty simple, but come on now. First of all, she's very pretty. She's not rat-faced in any way. I don't think she's ever lived in a trailer park. That's a horrible comment to make right there. And I don't know why you hate on her. Why in the world would you hate on Taylor Swift? There's nothing to hate. Taylor Swift is guilty of being successful. She's done nothing wrong to anyone. You know? I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. Maureen She writes, the funny thing is Taylor Swift hasn't made any political statements. They're only speculating what she could do with her influence on the Swifties. And that's true. And I don't know. I mean, she doesn't need to say who she supports. It's not like an 18-and-a-half-year-old girl on election day is going, I love Taylor Swift. I wonder who I should vote for. Come on now. All right. Thank you to the former president for weighing in, though. That was just fantastic. Corey is sending these silly pictures. Could you not do that? You realize that takes up valuable space? I'm trying to do my job. Let's not put any more entire screen size pictures of anyone. All right? I would prefer it if I could just interact with the audience on the chat instead of seeing silly pictures that you know how to make on the chat because you're a fucking dork. Okay? In fact, where are my cards? I'm going to have to give you a yellow on that deal. Knock it up, you dumb fuck. I have an update for you. There's this dude that reached out to me not long ago, January 23rd. I read this to you before. I couldn't tell if it was a joke or what. I still don't know. Hello, Eric. May I first start off as saying congratulations for making it this long and finding enough sponsors to pay you. Well done. I know that you use this shit, I'm guessing he's referring to his email, for content because your normal podcast length is full of ads and bullshit. Okay, that's one way to describe it. Actually, I would say that that's accurate. There are ads and plenty of bullshit. Then he adds, this podcast is shit. But however, it's slightly better than Stu McAllister's. That tells me Stu wrote this. So in that regard, fuck you both. Neither of you have anything legit to say ever. Eric, you don't know sports. And Stu, fuck yeah, I love you. Fuck off. Signs it, fuck off. So that has to be Stu, right? I followed up with, look, you cannot start your diatribe with hello and then finish with fuck off. So I'm playing along. This person responds yesterday. Yes, I can start it that way, you idiot. I can start it any way I want when I talk to a dummy like you. The way you talk in your podcast made me believe you're a real idiot, and it's Y-O-U-R. So this person's either Stu or someone looking for a fight. I wrote, you listen? Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Nothing makes people's blood boil more than you give them the old judo maneuver. Oh, yeah? Thank you. I appreciate you being here. I hate that. Then I wrote, the way I talk, what the hell are you talking about? I'm trying to get this person talking more. See if I can bring Stu in here. Stu and I both nursing our wounds from the NFL season. I still think Buffalo fans have it worse than Lion fans. Usually picks it up and goes, Eric Zane. Just like Kyle does. I'll get Kyle on here in a second. Oh, come on, Stu. What could you possibly be doing? Remember that one time, one year when Stu had like 10 different jobs He was delivering
Hi, reach
worms.
the phone of Stu Cal.
All right. For you folks that are watching on Facebook, X, and YouTube, I must say goodbye to you. We have more show left. If you want the rest of it, download the Twitch app and then search Eric Zane Live. Give yourself a little username. You can participate in the chat. It's great. Whole community there for you. Or on your laptop or desktop, go to twitch.tv/Eric Zane Live. Audio podcast available wherever you download shows. Just search my name. I prefer Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to me on there. Thank you. And then, of course, there is the Patreon, where it'll be a big fraud Saturday with the Ben and Eric Patreon podcast happening. And who are these Zanes? I put hours and hours of content up on my Patreon, and I want you to try it for free at patreon.com/Eric Zane. Also, send me an email like that guy did, Eric@ericzaneshow.com, on the Shoreliners Striping inbox.